Welcome, everybody, to Mind, Body, and Soul with Joanne and the Lone Wolf. This is www.witchcrafttv.online, where we are a fair representation of all pagan, witch, and magic paths. Joanne, how you doing out there from New Hampshire?
I am doing great. Thank you very much. How's things been going on your end? I'm glad to see that you're back. Kept the show going while you were gone. And had a little few hiccups being by myself, but I did it.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It's always good when it's not easy, being consistent in running a show and trying to do so many different things, and this is important work that we do in the community. Empowering our community is a real big deal, and that's a real big lesson that I think that we can learn from you specifically.
From me specifically, wow, that's a big charge.
Yeah.
However, hold on, I'm just fixing the stream on my Facebook page.
Sure.
I had it on private. Well, it automatically puts it on private. I don't know why. Hopefully people can join in and see from wherever they are. I have a big problem in the community because we're supposed to be spiritual people, right? Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to empower people and help people. But really what I find is a lot of pompous self-importance. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. The ridiculous posts I see from people saying, if you're not in my inbox and give me what I need to know in 5 seconds, I'm not answering you. Mm-hmm. And all the response supporting that, I find that pretty disappointing.
Yeah, we shouldn't support that at all. I mean, what
if it was somebody in crisis?
Right. Yes. Crisis. Yeah. And people need to be able to vent to spiritual leaders.
But what if they're reaching out, seeking an answer?
Right.
And not everybody is tech savvy. Not everybody is great with and eloquent with communication. Mm-hmm. And I find that messages like that are just wrong on the whole. And hate me if you like, I really don't care. But yeah, no, I that's just wrong. You're a spiritual person, publicizing spiritual books and saying all these spiritual things, then act that way.
Yeah.
All right. Spirituality is not an aesthetic.
Right. And from a psychological point of view, as a counselor, a lot of times people that are coming for advice, it's kind of like a coaching to help them figure out their own antidotes. Is that correct?
Absolutely. A lot of times they don't know why they're reaching out and they just, or what to say, especially if you're reaching out to a stranger or someone that you look up to. And I just find it very disheartening that as spiritual people, we become selective on who we allow in to our spirituality. Mm-hmm. Then you're not really walking your talk in my book.
Right.
And I haven't written any books and, whatever. I haven't written any books on the subject. I just like to live the subject, I guess, is how I deal with it.
Well, as somebody that works with, Witchcraft TV exclusively, we do have an online magazine and blog. If you ever wanted to write an excerpt on, some of these principles and points, of ethics and morality, always welcome, to shoot them off.
It's not even ethics or morality. It's being a decent human being.
Yeah.
Like how self-important do you think you are?
Right.
Like that you're writing this message out there and, and I'm sure half the community has supported them, when they've been down and out. I just find it wrong. Right. And, say what you will, but that's how I feel. And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
I have no use for it. And it's getting so ridiculous right now. I like to, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm involved with the We Are the Medicine movement, but, embody what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
I
walk
think,
in Snellgrove and learn.
yeah, yeah. Great human being, Standing Bear, Wayne Snellgrove, great human being. I really like your ability to bridge the gaps of the indigenous communities and incorporate it into the pagan communities. And I think those bridges and those gaps really need to be the focus as we move on in 2025. I think we should be bridging gaps and networking with the LGBTQ plus communities, indigenous communities, autistic communities, the feminist communities, all those communities that are marginalized. I think that we stand stronger together. So absolutely, Joanne.
I
Yes.
hate to sound cliche, but you need to build bridges, especially nowadays. We definitely need to build bridges because, and even more so as women, not downing the masculine at all. I
Right.
love men, but as women, we have more things in common than we do that divide us. And, no matter what color, what religion, what culture, what political view you have,
Mm-hmm.
what sexuality you have, as women, we all go through things that are more common than not.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
we need more spaces for women. And as women, we're horrible to each other.
Okay, real quickly, Joanne, let's give a good Mary meet and blessed be to Rosemary. Thanks for so much.
Hi, Rosemary.
Sigrid.
Hi,
Mary meet,
Sigrid.
blessed be. Nice to have you. And to Heather, thanks for joining the show. Thank you so
Heather.
much.
You're not late. You're right on time.
Yeah, you're right on time.
Sigrid's in Denmark. She stays up to watch me. I love my Sigrid.
So this is the Mind, Body, and Soul show, and Joanne does offer her oracle readings and expertise and empowerment to all walks. So if you do have issues or concerns and you would like a reading, just say so in the comments, and we'll get right on that. Do you have any particular agenda for the show tonight, Joanne?
I'm just, kind of free forming it because, we've been away for a while. My message is, how do you walk your talk? Like, what do you do in your life to walk your talk? You do this station, you provide all this content, but what about our audience? What do you provide? What do you guys provide to walk your talk, to embody your spiritual path? And it doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to have a big name. Just what do you do in your everyday life to be a nicer person?
Yeah.
Ooh, 3 a.m, Sigrid. Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's dedication.
So Mary Meet, blessed be to Shelley, and also Mary Meet and a special blessed be Shundi out there on the reservation.
Hello, Shundi.
And hello.
Hello, Shelley. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, walking the path of righteousness and, of true spirituality and comfort and empowerment to others is something that I've been trying to work on in keeping things positive. Never speaking I'm trying to avoid speaking in the negative in any way. People that are offering negative slanted rhetoric, I'm trying to avoid a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy task because it's very easy to focus on the negative. And it's kind of like when somebody does an action of negativity, people always remember it and they talk about it, but there's not a lot of talk about what's going on positive. And I think we really need to raise the frequency.
And I think we have to include in there, and we're not talking toxic positivity.
Right.
That's not what we mean. Everybody's going to have bad days.
Shandi says, thanks for joining. Hello, you beautiful, handsome, gorgeous goddess. Thank you, Rosemary. In the chat room, I try to show love and compassion to everyone. If I can help someone, I do my best to do so. Yeah, absolutely. I learned that a lot from you, Joanne, about empowering the community, regardless of what community that is. The bigger picture is that, the world community, not just the pagan community, not just the witchcraft community, every community, because I think it's good for people to empower and to be kind to one's own community. But I think it's even greater to be kind and compassionate to all communities. So, yeah.
And we really, and I think a lot of people mistake empathy for sympathy. When you have empathy for somebody, That is understanding where they're coming from in their perspective. Sympathy is if you agree with that perspective and jump on the bandwagon, right? You don't have to be sympathetic to have empathy. To have empathy is to understand that everybody has their struggles. They might not be as big and important as yours, but we all have struggles, and no one's is any less or more important. And I'm so tired of the self-important people out there that I'm just tired of it. And I really have no room for it on any of my platforms. So
Shelley Boyd, I'm in the process of reprogram, but I always try to be kind, compassionate, and empathetic to everyone. Mary
absolutely.
Maiden Bless Be to Fire Jewel Howard. Thanks for
Fire
joining
Jewel.
Mind, Body, and Soul. Yeah, great to have you on. So Joanne, there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of ego intertwined with some folks, and I think it's important to have humility when it comes to ego. And this was a big deal for me learning too. You know, as an Aries man, sun sign in Aries, dealing with arrogance and ego, and I'm
Yes.
this. So it's a learning curve, and some people learn it sooner than others or later, or but I think it's good conversation. I think humility is always good conversation.
Wayne talks about humility all the time.
He does.
And, if you're looking at the 7 sacred teachings, and Standing Bear talks about that a lot, is the wolf carries humility. That's his medicine, to walk with humility and to walk with and be mindful of the earth and what she's saying to you. We need to really shift our focus onto what matters. And what matters is our earth and how we treat each other. The one thing I've learned with the unity movement is they embrace everybody. I should have brought my sweetgrass, but the circle of sweetgrass, no one's ahead, no one's behind, no one's above, no one's below. It's a continuous circle, and we're all in it together.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes being humble is the hard lesson, right? You're absolutely right. And I like to use the analogy, a lion doesn't have to announce it's a lion. It just is, right? It just is. It just does what it needs to do. And, I don't care how many accolades you have. If you're a crappy person, you're a crappy person.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. And the card for the collective tonight is,
all right,
take the weight of the world off your shoulders. Boom shakalaka right there, right? Take the weight of the world off your shoulders. We all like to think we are the center of the universe and that we carry everything, but we don't. And sometimes we need to share the burden and delegate and pay attention to the people around us, right? Take the weight of the world off your shoulders. Stop being so critical of everybody and everything. Just because they don't fit in your box doesn't mean they're not worthy of love and respect. And I don't mean romantic love, just the love of another human being. And we're losing sight of that real fast. We're putting everybody into all these little boxes and working on separation. You have people like Patrick McCollum out there, Standing Bear, Chief Phil Lane that are trying to spread this message, and everybody says they're on board, and then boom, no, like I said, it's not an aesthetic, it's a way of life. Just be a decent human. You don't have to say a word. If you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. How did that person that maybe sent that message that triggered that post feel after that? Be proud of yourself. Be proud of yourself for that.
Yeah. We are a growing spiritual community. I mean, Witchcraft TV is ultimately a platform for pagans, for witches, and for all magical peoples. But at the end of the day, at the end of the night, at the end of the whatever, it's a spiritual community. And I feel like spiritual communities really need to uplift people and, focus on the positive.
Well,
and
especially if you're an elder or someone that has these accolades that command respect, you are setting the example. And if you're not leading by example,
Yes. So I was spending time at a reservation in Northeast Washington. And one of the things that came up in conversation is big tidal, low frequency witches.
Yeah.
And I just feel like sometimes the big titles don't mean anything with low frequency. And I think that's really what we need to do is lift up a higher vibration, more love, more support, more good vibes, because that stuff is contagious. It is.
And it's not light worker. It's not tutti frutti, glittery witches. It's just being real.
Yes.
And we all have our struggles. Do our struggles go away? No, they don't. When you do your mind, body, spirit practice, I say it all the time, that it's your problems aren't going to go away, but you're going to be better equipped to navigate them and handle them because you're feeding your mind, your body, your spirit, right? That's what we all do when we do our daily practices, whatever they may be. And, you know, like I said, you don't have to like somebody to just be a good person. You don't have to be love and light all the time. That is not what I am saying. We all have our bad days. You know, we all have our bad days. But being kind to another human being or an animal or whatever, to me, or a child, that's what counts over everything else. You know, I never turn a child away when they knock on my door. Never. I've never done that. And I've had kids knock on my door telling me, you know, hey, I'm cold, I'm tired, I'm locked out of my house. Can I come in? And I absolutely let them in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because everybody deserves a safe place to sleep. You know, I'm not, or if it's somebody that if I don't have the room or I can't, I help them find a place. You know, it's tough out there, and we need to, show people how to be better people, apparently, how to be better humans. Not toxic positivity. That's not the message here at all, but just basic human decency.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's an example of positive toxicity? What's an example of that, you think?
Toxic positivity is when people are like, no matter what your mood is, that you need to be all love and light and happy all the time. And you need to flip that switch and change the affirmation. No, it's okay to be angry. That's a natural feeling. It's what you do with that anger. What you should be saying is helping someone find a better coping strategy than making a tacky post on Facebook. Like maybe say to that person, hey, don't write that right now. Maybe think about it a little bit. Or yourself, step back and say, oh, wait a minute, before I write this, let me, think before I speak, and think about the magnitude of what you're saying. Because words have, and Wayne says this all the time, words have ripple effects.
Yeah.
There's ripple effects to everything we do. And what we do and what we say doesn't just affect us today, it affects the next 7 generations out.
I almost feel like the whole concept of words are spells themselves, like the spelling of words. So words definitely have power. And
Lord Stubbleshin wrote a whole book. Your word is your wand.
Yeah, it's the real deal. Yeah, spelling, it has power. So be very, very careful of watch your words. Your words can affect a lot of different people. It affects yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How you affect yourself, I think, affects more people around you than anything.
Yeah. And Fire Jewel said it best with the expecting rainbows and butterflies constantly is a fantasy land. That would be toxic positivity. That everything, we all know everything is not okay, right? But how are we going to deal with it? Are we going to do more of the not okay? And I say this all the time, every week, and I'm going to repeat it until the cows come home, that what you have inside of you is what you're going to bring more of around you.
Yeah.
And if you want to bring more egotistical, self-centered, self-important people around you, and then wonder why you're constantly not vibing higher, well, maybe you should check.
Yeah.
Anybody want a card? Want to know what a little? I brought the Raise Your Vibration Oracle because I figure we can all use a boost. Time to raise the vibration out there. Or I have the Sacred Forest deck.
Very cool. Lavola in the chat room. Words of breath, and breath is life.
Absolutely, Lavola. 110%.
We need to be real and authentic, says Fire Jewel Howard. Yeah. If anybody wants an oracle reading, just say so. Here we go, right here. Heather Hanson Cantor would like, I'm assuming, an oracle. There's Joanne does 2 different readings. They're both oracle decks. She also has a PhD, a master's degree in psychology, which is a really good perspective when asking for
not a PhD, a master's. I wish eventually, maybe someday I'll have a PhD, but I have my master's.
Master's. Well, that's good enough for me. Master's degree in psychology. I think that's a really good skill to have, particularly in the divination field, to add that to the equation when doing readings.
I mean, I do read tarot too, but usually it's easier that's more of like a 3-card, like 4-card thing. So I try to do the oracles, for the show so I can get more people in.
So Heather would like a reading. She didn't specify the deck. I assume.
Want Forest or How to Raise Your Vibe?
Let's see. So we have.
All right. So I have Heather, Secret, Rosemary.
Right, and then after we have Fire Jewel. Let's see. Well, no, I apologize. Sigrid is after Heather, and then Rosemary. So there's a few of them in line. Please be patient, and we'll get right to you. I'm going to hop right off a camera, and I'm going to put up who is receiving the readings. So stand by, and we got you.
Well, this flew out at me, Heather, immediately. I was called here on a mission, right? You were called here on a mission. And if you look, you see the world over there, and then you see that little light, and then you see it blowing out. Your purpose here, you have a purpose that is higher in vibration than most people. And your purpose here is to help empower people through whatever means that you're doing, right? You came here on a mission. You have a purpose. And I know you know that purpose. You just got to get it out there. And that's where you need to be focusing on right now. You are more than just where you're at right now. You have a lot to give, and you have a higher purpose of being here than just, living life. You're one of the warriors out here that's here to help people get through these times. You're here on a mission, whether it be to help animals, whether it be to volunteer in the community. I always like to say small steps equal big changes. So that's where your focus needs to be, on your mission, which is not so much the mundane of our everyday lives, but to look outside of that. And someone, who has no interest in that gift. Well, by example, you might change that person. You never know. Let's see. Who did we have next? Rosemary? Who was next?
That's going to be Sigrid is next.
Sigrid was next? Okay, Sigrid, she wants this deck as well. So
Yay.
I hope that helped you. If you have any questions, Heather, let me know. I got Sigrid, Rosemary, and Fire. Or Fire and Rosemary. I don't know which goes first. But I'll get you all. I'll get you all, my pretties. Okay, Sigrid. Relationships are assignments. Relationships are assignments. And that's a pretty powerful statement, right? And to me, that tells me that every person we encounter our life in our life has a purpose, whatever that purpose may be. Like the annoying person that made that post was to remind me of what's and who is important, right? And that's the type of things we need to be looking at right now is the relationships we have with other people. They serve a purpose, and not all the time is that perfect purpose positive. Sometimes it's to teach you a lesson, whatever that lesson may be. I know I've met people that just, I'm like, what is this? But then I realize, that message that I saw that person post reminded me of why I do what I do, and why, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be the person that writes that post. So relationships are assignments. So when people cross your path and you're like, why is this person around me? And we all could use this message is, look for the lesson, and I had a boss that used to say that all the time, because I'm the type of person, I hate going to like those, how they have these speakers come in and they're motivational when you're at work and they do all these talks and, and or even any kind of meeting. I tend to kind of like doze off if the person's not interesting. And my boss used to tell me, or if it was, always look for to learn one new thing that you didn't know before, and that's the thing. So always look to the lesson. Like, what is this situation, this person, this teaching me, because there's always a lesson under there. With Forest Tech, I think she said. Fire Jewel wants Forest, right? Rosemary wants a raise your vibration. We'll go with that. So hopefully that helped you, Sigrid. All right, you ready, Rosemary? Your message to Vibe Higher is, I am grateful for the earth. I am grateful for the earth. And what a beautiful message that is. Because really, without this planet, we wouldn't have anything, And this is a little message to just be mindful of the beautiful things in life. When you go outside, pay attention. Wayne, Standing Bear always says, let's look around and really, what does it mean to walk with the earth, to walk in beauty? And it's to be mindful, to pay extra attention to those trees and the sky and the ground. Ground and center yourself. Always, I love putting my feet on the ground. I don't know if it's warm where you are. It's kind of cold and muddy here right now. But I love grounding myself, and connecting. And I always go to the water, so maybe take a little time in nature and just be and just listen, and appreciate this planet for the beauty that it is, and how she's suffering and crying out to us right now. She wants us to hear her. She has messages for us. She wants us to feel her. And through that, you might find inspiration, So to me, this says get out a little bit in nature. And again, we're not saying I got to go on a hike and I have to. No, it can be the park up the road, a little patch of woods in your backyard, just sitting, listening to the birds on your porch. But listen to the earth, because she has the original message of love. She loves us so much, she gives us life. And let's see, who was next? Fire Jewel, can you confirm with the Forest deck? Okay. And I actually had the Forest deck out in the forest this past week.
So Joanne, Fire Jewel said, I'm doing home health aid work for a gentleman in Tahoe. I've been having a gut feeling about him. Can you confirm that with the Forest deck?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Cool.
Oop, 2 cards fell out.
Yay, that's good.
Foggy bog is the first one. Foggy bog. And that means this is going to take a lot of patience. Whatever it is that you're working on with this person, you're going to have a lot of patience. Right now, it's a foggy bog. You're not seeing what's going on clearly. You're not seeing through the mist what the real picture is. Could be something really great. You could be putting your foot in a mud puddle, right? So, pay attention. You're in the fog, and you have to be patient, and you have to take your next steps very carefully, okay? Because it's unclear. If you look ahead, there's brambles, but if you look a little further back in that fog, you can see a light of goodness coming up there. So that also says, don't take things at face value right now. So definitely move forward with patience. And then you've got the fire spirit, which is another powerful one, which is energy. So, it's going to take a lot of patience and energy to deal with this person. And these two go hand in hand, because you need to have a balance of your energy. You don't want somebody to drain you. So don't go in all, full force right away, because you'll get burnt out, right? So what you want to do is have patience, go slowly, and move mindfully. That's coming to me very strongly. Be mindful moving forward. And be sure to keep your energy balanced. And also, I'm getting to keep your spiritual hygiene clean, meaning, make sure you're doing your protection before and after you go in there. I always keep little things in my car, with essential oil sprays, and I'll spray myself, or a little broom, and I'll sweep the negativity off. And definitely try not to bring that energy home with you. But it's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of energy to work with this person moving forward. So keep that in mind for what you're doing. And I hope that was helpful.
Next up is Jennifer Kamini. First time here, but she'd love a reading.
Who? All right. Do you have a particular deck of choice? I have the Raise Your Vibration, or I have Sacred Forest. I'm going to just go with Sacred Forest, I guess. We're not getting an answer through, so maybe we did. Sacred, please. Okay, good. I had the right one. What message do you have? Does the Sacred Forest have for Jenny?
Real quickly, Fire Jewel Howard said, I knew that. Laugh out loud about foggy mist. That's the feeling I have. Thank you. Yep. I have all of that. Thank you for confirming.
Okay, let's see what we have. Ooh, you have the Willow Spirit. Right now, flexibility is where you're at. Learning to be and being flexible in things that are going on around you right now. Right now, it may not be all cut and dry, and it may not be a direct route to get to the result that you want. But by being flexible and being patient and moving along, you're going to get a better result in the end. The Willow Spirit is about freedom and breaking free and looking up and coming out to what you're doing. So the outcome is good. You're emerging, right? But again, flexibility is the key. We can't always have things our way 100% of the time. And a lot of times how you want it may not be how spirit brings it. You know what I mean? So be flexible on the outcome of, the answer that you receive from spirit. and the guidance. You might think to yourself, this is not something I'd normally do. But be a little, flexible, think outside the box a little bit, and that will bring you the end result that you would like, that freedom. And I hope that was helpful, unless you need some more clarification. I can also look at the book, because this is a new deck. I don't usually use the book, but sometimes you get a little bit of insight in there. So let's see, flexibility at the edge of the forest. Yeah, so you're at the edge of something, and you're about to, you're about to soar off into that thing that you want. You're about to fly off into the field or wherever this fairy is flying. So definitely be flexible and be patient. The spirit of the willow says, be flexible in your life, be willing to bend rather than break, be amenable to change, and you will flourish in wondrous ways. That's a really nice message. That's a beautiful message. Anyone else need a card?
All right. Next up is Amber Henry, I believe, who wanted a reading for relationships, I believe. Let me see here. Amber Henry. Yep. Cool. I need a reading for guidance. And then she says relationships. So Amber Henry for guidance and relationships.
Which deck, Amber?
Sure. Let me look in the chat here. She doesn't specify.
All right, we're going to go with the forest then. Let's see what the sacred forest has to say for you, Amber, on your relationship goals. What does she need to embody to help her relationship goals? Secret spring, success. Well, there's a good answer. So there's definitely a positive outcome there. There is definitely a positive outcome here. And if you look, success, you've reached the destination. Here's the little fairy with the little light on the boat guiding the way. Trust your inner, and that's, trust your inner light. Trust that in the darkness, you're going to find the way, even though things may not seem very cool at the moment, or like, when is this going to happen for me? You're definitely going to see that moving forward. You're going to be successful in your goal. What you need to look at is, focus on what you want to bring to you, and how you want to embody that, and you will be successful. I'll take a look at the book on this one too, a little bit, and see what it says. The spirit of the spring says success is flowing into your life. Vitality and a glowing youthful renewal are occurring. Now is the time to take action in support of your dreams. There's no need to struggle. The universe has your back. So just work on being you and being authentically you, authentically, beautifully you, and you will definitely receive your relationship goal, whether it's to get one, to end one, I don't know, but whichever it is, you're going to be successful.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Joanne. Great job. Did you do a reading for Lavola yet?
No, I haven't. Okay, oh my goodness.
You want? She would love a card, forest card.
Forest card, absolutely, woman. Actually, she should. I'm honored because she's an insanely phenomenal reader. Now I'm nervous. Guys, you better be on point.
Amber Henry says, thank you. You're very welcome, Amber. And I hope you're doing great.
If you need any clarification. Okay, Lavola, you ready? Ooh, the wolf spirit. What a beautiful card that is. I love you back. What a beautiful card, Lavola, the wolf spirit. And wow, the wolf is all about humility, family, love, power, strength. The wolf can walk alone, but it also has a pack, and it loves its pack and its family. And right now, the focus is on your family and what really matters to you. And that is a good thing. And that's where your focus should be right now, the wolf spirit. And that doesn't necessarily mean just your family, because some of us don't have traditional families, so to speak. But again, it's all in who you're going to be surrounding yourself with. Surround yourself with people that love you and empower you. And to heck with the naysayers. It goes back to where we started tonight. You don't need that type of energy around you. I don't care what accolade they have. You know, what you continue to focus on is what comes back to you. And I think right now, the wolf travels a wide circle, right? And it always comes back to its tribe. And that is the essential message here, whether it's your immediate family or traditional family or your soul family or however you look at it. That is right now where your focus is. And to surround yourself with the people that are loyal. Because what are wolves? They're loyal to their pack, right? You don't choose the wolf chooses you. I used to raise hybrid wolves when I lived in Colorado. And if they didn't like you, then you couldn't have one. Like, they literally pick you. And definitely, they're very amazing, beautiful, beautiful animals that command a lot of respect. They hated my ex-husband, and when he would go feed them, they'd dump the food bowls out. When I was away, and they wouldn't take food from him, which should have been a big red flag. But hey, and seriously, the path of the wolf, which is humility, loyalty. Think of all the characteristics there, and that's a beautiful thing. So thank you, Lavola. I hope that helped.
Next up, it looks like Shundi has joined us.
Ooh, hello.
I would like to know what the goddess would like me to know in the forest. And this is.
Yes, we know it's you.
Yep.
She's so cute.
Lavola said, "Thank you so much. That inspires me to keep going."
Absolutely. All right, Shundi, let us tag into what you need to hear. And Shundi is literally in the forest. Like, you can't be any more in the forest than she is. I thought I was remote, but woo. Very beautiful up there. I was jealous, Harold. All right, we ready, Shundi? Spirit guardian of spring activation. All right, spring activation. So you've got a lot of rebirth. And funny enough, we just had Maybon not too long ago still. And you're in that energy of renewal and building and the maypole and love. And I know we've been talking about that earlier, about finding love and building on those things and focus on that renewal of spring and birthing new things. It's time for new things to grow in your life. You're building new. You're ready to welcome it in. It's time to make those blossoms come up and feed and water and nurture that garden that you are creating that is your life, right? So you really want to start focusing on that. Focus on what you want. Celebrate. Be joyful. Look at it like it's already happening, right? Because what we see, what we speak, we manifest. Your word is your wand, Don't say, will I? Just say, maybe say, wouldn't it be nice if I met this type of person tomorrow, Or, good things are going to happen to me today, These type of things. Keep those type of thoughts in your head. And definitely thoughts of rebirth and growth, which is wonderful. Very wonderful card. Absolutely. Beltane. New birth, new growth, spring, love, fertility, abundance, all those things. Now's the perfect time to grow those new projects, those ideas, those manifestations that you want, Speak from your heart. Water the good things. We pull out the weeds. Keep your energy aligned. I'm always saying how we feel inside is what mirrors back to us, and that is the truth. So if you're sad and and unmotivated and whatever, you're gonna that's what's gonna mirror back to you. You're gonna get more of that. You need to be motivated. And I know me, I have to kick myself. Like today, I had to kick myself to do this. And because sometimes you don't feel spiritual, but every time I do this, I feel better because I connect with everybody's energy, beautiful energy, and it makes me happy to help people. I do this out of pure love of doing it. I don't get anything in return other than the love of all of you, and I love that.
And we love you, Joanne. And you did a great job. We were swarmed with readings today. And I just want to keep in mind that we still have that flower moon. That flower moon's in waning right now during this Beltane season. So, if there's negative energy that we're just trying to push away, now is the time to just do it with that decreasive, waning moon energy. Negativity runs from the witch like shadows run from the sun.
Well, you know what? We worked, and Sigrid and I did full moon together, and we worked on calling back our power. And I think that that's something we all need to do, either at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. Call back your power, because we get drained whether we know it or not, whether we ask for it or not. Even if all you have to do is say, before you go to bed, I call back all my energies that I've let out there, knowingly and unknowingly. I call them back to refill.
The chat room. You want to read the chat room for us, Joanne?
Joanne, you are talented, and what beautiful cards. You have come so far. Oh my God. I love you, Sigrid.
Also in the chat room from Jennifer, this message is resonating with me very much right now as well.
Thank you.
Shundi saying thank you as well. And she is
you guys are making me cry.
Both warm fuzzies to us both is the reward from Fire Jewel Howard.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite, more, I don't know, favorite is a better is the way to say it. But I really enjoyed this particular show on Witchcraft TV, The Mind, Body, and Soul with Joanne, because it's all about empowering the people. And I just feel like that's really what witches are supposed to be doing. And I just love the idea of it. It's very positive, and it's
actually where I started, joyful empowerment, right?
Yeah, it's just a great message, great vibe. I'm glad to know Joanne helping the people, helping the community, and not just our community, but many, many different communities. And I think the inclusiveness to that is just is a beacon of light. It's just good stuff.
Yep, which we just started a We Are the Medicines women's group. I have the link available for Zoom. It's every Thursday night at 8 p.m. And you can join in and just listen. And we had some really, really just beautiful women. It was so empowering. I think we had like 8 of us last time. And we're trying to build this because we want to build these groups. Wayne told us it's time to go out there and start walking our talk, and make these connections. And so we do now have a We Are the Medicine women's group. A lot of beautiful women in there. And if you want the link, shoot me a message, or I can post it if you allow me to on Witchcraft TV. And everybody is welcome. It's not, you don't have to be indigenous. We do go by indigenous teaching, but it's open to everybody.
Well, it looks like all the readings are done for tonight. You did a great job, Joanne. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
In the chat room, thank you, Harold and Joe. Hugs ×3, absolutely. Do you have any parting words of wisdom or inspiration as we close off this segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with Joanne right here on Witchcraft TV?
Well, the only thing I want to say to everybody is be mindful in your day. And we all hear this word mindful. Just be mindful that everybody is struggling right now. And if you don't believe me, I will gladly show you the amount of texts I get in my inbox of people that are struggling, people that you wouldn't even think of that are struggling, that look like they have it all together. We all are scared right now. We all are, because our mind likes to tell us, oh, we don't know what's going on. Something bad's going to happen. And, I ask you to look at what's in your magic. Are you leading by example? Are you walking your talk today? Or are you wearing your spirituality as an aesthetic?
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. If you would like to sponsor Witchcraft TV, it helps with software. It helps with maintaining our website and bringing you the very best in witchcraft, pagan, and magic television available on online television. There's a way to do that in the comments here, and I will post it on the video really briefly. But none of that is necessary. This is our servitude to the broader community. I hope you join us next week on Monday night, right here on www.witchcrafttv.online, where we are fair representation for all pagan, witch, and magic paths. And I'm going to leave you with a show on Witchcraft TV called Festival Fun that is co-hosted by A.C. Fisher Aldag, and we are interviewing various practitioners from across the board down there with that New Orleans crowd down there. And I hope to see you back next Monday. I love you, Joanne. Thank you for a great show. Thanks for your vibe, raising the bar, raising the frequency, not only to our community, but to all communities. We love you. Merry part, and we will merry meet again for sure.
Merry meet and welcome to Festival Fun on Witchcraft TV, where we talk about paganism, witchcraft, spiritual festivals, conventions, and other gatherings. These events are a wonderful way to learn about magical practices, to participate in rituals, and meet like-minded people. It's a whole lot of fun. With your host, A.C. Fisher and Harold Sanford Carter III. Welcome to Festival Fun.
Hey there, folks. Before you dive into this masterpiece of a production, let's set a few things straight. The opinions expressed here are like pineapples on pizza, and not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. They belong to the speakers and participants, and not to Witchcraft TV. The video is for entertainment and informational purposes only, because nothing screams fun like a good old disclaimer. Please don't take any of this as professional advice unless your profession is a laugh enthusiast or random fact collector. We can't be held responsible if you attempt anything wild after watching, like starting a llama farm or joining a yodeling competition. Viewer discretion is advised, especially if you're allergic to bad jokes or sarcasm. By watching, you agree that Witchcraft TV is not liable for any shenanigans that may ensue. Now, grab your popcorn and enjoy responsibly. And make sure you keep it right here on Witchcraft TV, www.witchcrafttv.online, where we are fair representation of all pagan, witch, and magic paths.